Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's Workday 101 Lunch and Learn. Our topic today is Job Changes Simplified. I'm Nikki Sitton. I'm an HR Technology Change Management Specialist, and our expert today is Laura McGowan. She's an HRIS Technology Analyst Senior. So thank you so much, Laura, for speaking today.
Thanks, Nikki. Happy to be here. Thanks, everybody, for joining us.
Yes. Also, I just want to let everyone know if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please submit it into the chat and we will have time at the end to address your questions. Our agenda for today is really quite simple. We're going to give you a review of all the job change reasons, and then we're just going to jump right into Workday to walk through some demonstrations of the new job change templates. Okay, so let's start off with transferring an employee to another manager. The scenario is manager Amy wants to move Bob from one of her teams to another manager's team. This means Bob and the position he's currently in will no longer be on Amy's team. So Laura, what do we need to do here?
So this is a reason that we've had for quite a while, moving one of your employees who currently sits at your table to another manager's table. And in this case, they are taking their chair with them. So the employee and their position are moving to another manager. Now, I will point out that if for some reason you wanted to keep their position on your team, you wanted to keep their chair at your table, that would require a requisition. And if a employee is moving to another manager via requisition, you as the current manager don't need to do anything. The requisition will work the magic. Recruitment will take all of the actions for you. No need for you to submit anything.
Perfect. Okay, our next job change reason would be changing an employee's job profile. So the example is manager Amy wants to promote Calvin to RRT lead. Amy will continue to be Calvin's manager and his FTE and management level will not change.
Yes, so this is a job change reason, a manager self-service job change reason that we have really worked on a lot. Mainly since October is when we put some rules in place and really opened it up for managers to be allowed to have that flexibility to change their employees' job profiles within reason. So if the job family is not changing, the management level, let's see, and the manager, if those are not changing, let me say those again, management level, manager, and job family, we allow a leader to make that job profile change via job change outside of a requisition. Now, I will say we do have a lot of those types of job profile changes that are allowed that do involve a change in certification. So, for example, let's say an MA to a CMA. That is happening because the individual has gained a certification. In those situations, we would really encourage the initiator to attach a copy of that new certification to the process just to ensure that the process moves along quickly. There is a verification that's involved. And if you give us an example of that new certification, our folks who verify those in primary source will know exactly the website to go to verify those certifications, because in some instances there are multiple options, and rather than checking all of them to find the correct one, if you gave us the example, it leads us right to where we need to go, therefore speeding up the entire process.
Okay, good to note. Our next reason would be changing an employee's location. So Manager Dave is over 3 urgent care facilities. Jack is one of his patient care techs. Dave wants to permanently move Jack's physical location from urgent care A to urgent care C.
Yep, this is one of those simple job changes that happens often. This is changing the physical location of the employee. So the initiator will submit, and there are no approvals associated with this change. It's a very simple one. One thing that we will note, though, and this is a reminder from our friends in benefits, that if the employee is working remotely, their location, their physical location, does need to start with the state in which they live. And then from there, it's important to distinguish their provider network. So for example, if an employee lives in Illinois, but they work just over the river close to St. Louis, their location would need to read the Illinois Remote St. Louis plan, if that makes sense. So then they're offered the St. Louis provider network, and the Illinois represents the state in which they live. And if you have any questions on that, Market HR, great folks to reach out to help you work that out if you're unsure of which to choose.
All right, thank you. And then our next reason would be changing an employee shift. So Jack wants to change from the day shift to the night shift. What needs to happen there, Laura?
Yeah, this is actually a new job change reason that will be added effective this weekend. So not too long ago, we did start requiring a shift be indicated on every employee's position. And we realized that we have this requirement now, but if a leader or HR were to want to update an employee's shift, we did not give them a reason to do so. All of the other reasons didn't make sense to choose. So here we are. This is a very simple one, just changing the shift. No other details can be changed, allowing you to go in there, make that shift change, no approvals necessary.
All right. And next we have changing an employee's FTE. In this situation would be greater than 0.3. So the scenario is part-time RN Tammy is currently a 0.6 FTE, but she wants to go full-time. So Manager Dave needs to increase her FTE by 0.4. And then in order to accomplish this, Laura, you'll touch on this, Dave must create a job requisition and Tammy must apply for the position.
Right. So if you are intending to increase a current employee's FTE by 0.4 or greater, that will require a requisition. Now, we give you that knowledge ahead of time, so you just would go straight to a requisition in those situations. But we've also placed some rules as guardrails. So if you do start the process to increase an employee's FTE, we do have rules in place that will do the math and will give you a hard stop if you're trying to do an increase that would otherwise require a requisition.
All right. And something I just want to remind our audience for today is that this presentation is actually a preview of what we're going to be presenting to managers next week. We understand that not everybody on the call are managers or people leaders. And so when we're saying you, we mean the manager. And we will be presenting this next week to managers and people leaders. So kind of keep that in your frame of reference. Our next scenario is changing an employee's FTE by a smaller increment by 0.1 to 0.3. So you can see the scenario on the screen. It says physician assistant Roger works 24 hours per week, but next month he will increase his hours to 32 hours per week. So you can see the math there. And because this change is less than 0.3, Dave will complete the change via Manager Self-Service in the My Team Management app.
Right. So this is a slight FTE increase. So you can do this outside of a requisition. Any FTE increases will route to workforce management for approval and review. I will note that a decrease, though, of any increment does not require any approvals. You may just submit that and it's done, with the exception of decreasing to PRN for the ministries located in the greater Fond du Lac area or that are a member of a SLU union. Market has asked that decreases to PRN in those ministries be done via a requisition. But otherwise, decreases are a manager self-service action that requires no approval.
All right. So our next scenario is decreasing a PRN level, and this is for the RN job family only. So the scenario is a PRN 3 wants to decrease their commitment level to a PRN 1. So Laura, I'll have you talk us through that.
Yeah, so this is also a newer job change reason that's been added to the list since we did some enhancements to the PRN program, starting in the RN job family to begin with. We now have PRN levels 1, 2, and 3. So to allow those individuals to have some flexibility in their commitment, we have allowed managers or HR to be able to decrease a worker in their PRN level. You cannot increase a PRN level via manager self-service, but you can decrease. So as the example shows, if you are currently a PRN 3 and want to decrease, you may, through manager self-service, decrease to a 2 or a 1. Currently a 2, the only option is to decrease to a 1. And then also I will point out that, of course, manager self-service does not apply to any actions on PRN 4s. Any movement to or from that program, that level of a program, does require a requisition.
All right, that wraps up our review of all the job change reasons. So Laura, I'll go ahead and pass the screen to you so you can jump into Workday for demonstrations.
All right. So as we were explaining, we just did a review of the job change reasons and what is available as a manager self-service action. Now, though the functionality of those job change reasons haven't been changed or worked on really since the beginning of October of 22 is the last time we saw kind of an overhaul of the rules and reasons associated with job change. We haven't done anything with functionality, but what we have enhanced is the user experience. So we've simplified it even more for you visually. So I'd like to show you a bit of that today. So I'm in as a manager. And if we go and I'm in the My Team Management, the first thing I'll note that will be different is the option to start job change. So this actually replaces what we've behind the scenes a bit referred to as the long form. So when you go to make a job change, you're given every field possible that's associated with the position. And then you as the initiator have to remember, what can I touch? What am I allowed to change? What must I leave alone? If I touch this, am I going to get an error? So there's a lot of back pocket knowledge, if you will, associated with making a job change right now. So what we've done is we've enhanced and simplified the process by giving you templates. and the templates are going to be based on the reason that you choose. So let's show you what I'm talking about. If I click Start Job Change, we're going to come to this screen. Here is where you will enter your worker that you'd like to make the change on. If the employee happens to have more than one position, this center category would also be a drop-down, and you could choose which position your action will affect. And then here's the simplified question. What do you want to do? Click in this field, and here's your options. And these options are actually going to depend on the employee that you've chosen. Now, Shelby happens to be a PRN level RN. That is why we see decrease PRN level as an option. If I were to put someone in here who is not a PRN level RN, we do not see that as an option. So there we've simplified. We've taken away a reason that isn't even applicable to the employee that you're working on. So we've really simplified some things there. So the next thing that we've done is based on the reason that you choose, and I can just go down here, click a reason, and we're going to give you individualized help text based on the reason that you chose, just as another guardrail to help you decide if you're really choosing the correct reason. And that will change based on any reason that I choose here. And it will just give you a little bit of help text based on that reason. So now let's actually do one. Let's do a move to another manager. Move to another manager. Used to move a worker and their position to another manager. During this process, location and/or shift may also be changed. So let's go ahead and start this process, and we'll show you how simplified the form has become. So this is the same as we've always been used to. You can change your date here. The reason is already filled out, and now because you chose that on the beginning screen, you can't change it here. And then we will change the manager. Again, we could change the location if we wanted to. And when we click Start, you can see that's it. These are the only data fields applicable to move to another manager. We're not showing you the job profile. We're not showing you the FTE and all of the time type options. All of those fields are not applicable to moving someone to another manager. So we have removed those, and we're only showing you the fields that you're allowed to touch and change during this process for this reason. And we will submit. And now it goes to the receiving manager to accept the transfer of that employee. And it's done, and that process is done. So again, the functionality of those reasons has not changed. We've just simplified the process even more for the user. Now, if the manager who just submitted that transfer wanted to check in to see the status of that change, say they're still seeing that person on their team and they're wondering why the process hasn't finished yet, what they can do is go to that employee's profile. We're going to go to the Job tab. we'll take a look at worker history. And this is where we can see what's going on with that process. So right here, here's the transfer that we just submitted. We can see that it's still in progress, and we can see who the action is assigned to. So if we needed to say, hey, Melissa, you have a task waiting for you, you can have that conversation with each other. But this is a great way, worker history, to check on any process that you're wondering, where are we? What status is it? Who is it assigned to? So that's a good way to check in on your processes. And that's it. It's again, making it a simplified process, a shorter process. We're really taking a lot of the guesswork out of the initiator.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the demonstration, Laura. There are some questions in the chat, and actually I just wanted to, I don't know if you noticed, but when you were showing some of the simplified process, there were some applause. So I think people are happy that there's been some, some simplicity happening in this space. I'll just
I was watching all of the faces on the screen nodding and smiling, so that was great too. Thank you for that.
Yes. Okay. So I can go through some of the questions that are in the chat. So Carol Tolliver says, hi, what about this scenario? Changing an employee from a certified role to a non-certified due to not receiving required certifications in a specific time frame.
Yes. So yes, so this is a newer hot situation that we're really working on from the compliance standpoint. So you will do enter a job profile change, because that's what we're doing. We're moving from we're just doing the reverse of kind of what I had described earlier. We're moving from the certified version of the job profile to the non-certified. And that would be done through a job profile change. Future enhancements will be coming, but for the time being, it is a job profile change. This is where comments are really, really important, right? So in the comments, please tell us, why are you making this change? And then that will be very clear and will also help to speed up the process and prevent any sendbacks that might hold it up.
All right. And then Sarah Kelly had a question. Sarah, if you want to go ahead and unmute and specify, her question was, would a new contract need to be completed? I'm not sure in what situation she was referring to.
I think that was when there was a change from a PRN4 to a PRN1 or a PRN1 to a PRN4.
So again, PRN4, moving to or from, may only be done via requisition. So, and that brings up exactly your point. There's contract work there, right? Either starting a new contract, getting it signed, and getting all of the agreements in place, or we are marking the end of a contract. That's why we only do it through a requisition, because there's a lot more eyes and steps involved when it's goes through recruitment and a requisition. So to or from PRN4, always only through a requisition. Now the extensions, those are done through Workday, yes. But as far as moving to or from PRN4, only requisition.
Thank you, Laura. Can you clarify if the manager can upload that contract, or is that something that HR needs to do? Because I noticed there's also an HR signature line, and didn't know if that was necessary or not.
So the newest version of the contract will have the signature lines that are necessary for the process anymore. And I apologize, without that right in front of me. I believe, I don't want to misspeak. But I will say that the most up-to-date contract has the signature lines that are required. And then for extensions, so if the employee has completed their first 12-week go round with the PRN4 program, and they've decided they'd like to extend another 12 weeks, that's all done through a Workday task now. And in that case, yes, the manager will get the signatures, and that will be uploaded during the process as an attachment. So extensions, yes, the manager uploads.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And I see Terry Dyer has their hand up. Maybe your question is related to this topic, but you can go ahead and unmute and ask.
Yes, it is. I would like to clarify because I do a lot of internal movement as a recruiter, and I see a lot of PRN 1 through 3. You clarified PRN 4 changes, which is my experience, must be done through a requisition. But what about PRN 1 through 3?
So an increase in PRN level? Is that what you're
Or
asking specifically?
increase or decrease. We see it very much so at Cardinal Glennon, where they'll be at like a PRN 3, they go to a PRN 1, or they go from PRN 1 to PRN 2 or 3. I know 4 must always be done through requisition.
Yep.
But
So
I wasn't sure
PRN
about 1 through 3.
So PRN decreases are now a manager self-service reason. They can do that outside of a requisition. Now, that's, I'm saying that at the simplest form, that they're just decreasing their PRN level. Now, I don't know if the requisitions that you're seeing are changing other attributes of their job, or is it simply decreasing the PRN level?
So, Laura, this is Reba. I can speak a little bit to the PRN 1 through 4, through the PRN 1 through 4 movement. So first of all, if you go to Workday, all of the materials on the RN PRN 1 through 4 program are posted out there under My Team Management. If you're not a people manager, you still have access. It'll be all the way down at the bottom. You'll just have to scroll down to the bottom of that list of apps. So the design is that if someone is moving to a higher level RN PRN, so if somebody's RN PRN 1, and they're going to move to an RN PRN 2 or 3 or 4, if they move up, it's going to require a requisition. If they're moving down, it does not.
Thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate it because I deal with
Thanks,
that
Reba.
quite a bit.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Reba. All right. Another question comes from Cindy. It says, when making an FTE change that also involves some other type of change, for example, manager, location, etc., can you talk about the type of change that should be initiated to submit all of these changes at one time?
Yes. So let's see. So an FTE change can only be, sorry, let me gather my thoughts here.
If you need to share your screen again, that's
Yep, I'm
fine
actually
too.
just going, so I have it in front of me. So changing an FTE, really that's all that should be changed. We don't want to go and change, we don't want to move to another manager. Move to another manager does not allow FTE changes. So FTE changes really, the job profile could change along with FTE, but the manager cannot. We really want to look at it. So let's see.
So it sounds like there's certain ones that can be done.
Each of those changes has a bit of a different weight, if you will, right? So shift change, that's a really simple, just changing the shift. And then you kind of build from there. So a job profile change, I would say, is is the heaviest change because it could impact wage. It could impact, you could change the FTE along with it. It could impact certifications. So if you look at it, I'm changing someone's FTE, and that FTE is also affecting their ability to be salaried, and I need to make them hourly. Well, that's a job profile change. Actually, you need to have the reason of job profile change to change them from salaried to hourly. And then you may also change the FTE, if that makes sense. Did that answer your question? I feel like I went off a little bit there.
No, Laura, this is Cindy. Yeah, it does
Yep.
answer my question. And I kind of had an idea. I just think it does come up where there's more than one type of change happening at the same time.
And that's perfectly fine based on the reason. And that's also why we've built so many rules around all of these different fields, which is why these templates are going to be so great. We're only going to show you what you can change based on the reason that you chose.
Great question. All right, there's another comment question in the chat from Liz. Says one of the things Joint Commission looks at is if there is a signed JD, is that job description, for job changes. For example, from nurse resident pre-licensure to RN post RN resident post licensure, I assume, how we've been able to build in the JD being sent in Workday. Right now, I have to print out the new job description and have the employee sign. Then I can scan and save in Workday.
Yeah, and I do not believe there is anyone else please chime in if they know differently. I do not believe that we have anything built in at this time that would automatically send the new job description to the individual. But that's a great question. And I'm writing it down as I speak to check in on that.
This is Terry. Just to confirm with you, I would love a follow-up answer on that because I do internal movement for Cardinal Glennon and get the same question. And as of right now, we've just had to do either manager prints it out or a whole new offer letter. Because I haven't been able to find a way with my team to somehow help the managers not have to print and scan unless we send an offer letter.
Right, that tends to be something that happens through, when we do the long process through a requisition. But like I said, I'm definitely making that note and I will see what I can find out.
Thank you so much for bringing that up. And Angela Taylor, it looks like you typed in the chat, changing an employee's location. Did you have a question regarding
Yeah, I
that?
think I do. I think I might have solved it myself. I had a leader that just reached out to me and was just saying they were trying to figure out how to do a location change for one of their business managers. So I looked in the Workday guide on page 42 and I'm wondering, I guess that's how to do a location change for an employee. And I was just wondering, is that correct? He's saying that his business manager has a location of one place, but then has an address of somewhere else in his Workday work location.
If you would you maybe offline, we could take a look at that exact situation to make sure I know how to explain it. If I look at their profile, I might be able to look at that with you.
Yeah, we can do that. Perfect.
Okay.
Great questions. So glad everyone is getting some clarification. And Laura, congrats on the wonderful work you're doing in simplifying this process for everyone. Makes their jobs hopefully a little less stressful. Terry, I see your hands up if you want to go ahead and unmute.
I just had a follow-up question for maybe this might be more for Reba. One question that came up in our recent PRN meeting was, we know PRN 4, when it comes time to renew the contract, a manager gets an alert. Does or do managers get the same alert for PRN 1 through 3?
No, they do not. That is only a program that's built, that process that happens right in Workday only works for PRN 4s.
Okay, that's good to know because that's been a couple questions we've had. So thank you.
Mhm.
All right, I don't see any other questions in the chat, so final call for any
And I'll
questions.
I just want to clarify, as we're talking about that automatic the contract process for PRN 4s, that is registered nurse job family only. Those are the only folks that we have that implemented for at this time. So if any non-RN PRN 4s are still the manual paper, upload it to their profile process. So I just want to clarify there.
Okay, final call for any questions from our audience. Okay, Laura, thank you so much for all the work that you've done in this space and for your presentation today. And I want to thank everyone else for joining us. I will have this recording uploaded to the Workday 101 HR video library. So if you need to review it for future purposes, you could do that there. And then somebody had asked also if they knew a manager did not have an invitation for next week's session, reach out to me. My email is in the chat and I'll make sure that they get the invite. So thank you so much and have a wonderful day, everyone.